You are listening to the Shopify Solutions Podcast, a podcast for Shopify store owners that brings you concrete examples on how to build and grow your e-commerce brand. Your host is Scott Austin. He owns a Shopify agency called Jade Puma. In this podcast, Scott will share his e-commerce insights and best practices with you.
Hey everyone, Scott Austin here, and for this week's episode, I want to talk about quiz funnels. But I don't have a lot of experience with quiz funnels. I have a couple customers that have done it, but I'm definitely not an expert. So for this episode, I called in an expert on quiz funnels so he can share his information and knowledge about quiz funnels and make us all smarter about the topic. So today we have Dylan Lamb from Omirank. Hello, Dylan. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience at your agency with quiz funnels so that we know that you're the expert we need to be talking to?
Yeah. So we create quiz funnel to help e-commerce to increase their average order value and lifetime value and build brand loyalty as well. So most of our customers are Chinese customer. We help them. We will help a small brand that is doing around 200K, and then they just implement the quiz funnel, and that just boosts their revenue at least 50% because of how good is the conversion rate when it comes to a quiz funnel.
So you said it boosted conversion by 50%, 50?
That's right.
Oh,
a quiz funnel is really that powerful.
That is powerful. I'm super excited to get into that a little bit more. So for those who don't understand that are listening right now, can you explain what quiz funnels are and how they integrate into an e-commerce experience?
So a quiz funnel is more of like it's like a funnel, you normally have like a bridge page or maybe like a tripwire, but you're not using that right now, or you can use it alongside with those offer. Whereas a quiz funnel, is typically going to be like a top of your funnel, or maybe going to be like mid of your funnel, because when they land on your website, then that's going to be like your mid funnel to convert them. When it comes to like first time touch point, then that's going to be cold funnel. Essentially, they are a gateway to help you make the customer feels like they are hyper personalized, and therefore they want to interact with your business. And that's how we use quiz funnel to prime the user. I'm going to use another word, prime, in the future, like in the upcoming minutes, because it's all about priming, creating a question to get them to convince that you are a brand that they should get into.
And that's Prime, like priming the pump, not Prime like Amazon Prime, correct?
No, not Amazon Prime.
Exactly. You got to be clear about that. So can you illustrate that with an example of, just come up with a random brand or, product type and explain how they would use a quiz funnel, what that quiz would look like for that scenario?
Yeah, of course. We help a hair care brand in China, because in China, hair care is not like super popular back in the days. But then we were able to use a quiz to really intrigue the customer, to let them understand using the right shampoo, the right conditioner would really make a difference on how people perceive you on your first impression or on your health, right? So that's the brand that they try to deliver the value to make this as a funnel to attract new customer, right? So the objective there, like normally, like when we create a quiz funnel, it's more of like we want to define the outcome first, right? So the outcome is always like what does your brand want to achieve at the end, because different achievement would give you a different question to ask, right? And those questions is typically surrounded to the objective that you want to achieve, right? So, your question is like how we're able to leverage the quiz funnel, right, to help the brand, right? So this hair care brand that we created, the objective that we want to go for is we want to make them feel like that we as a brand, that we are knowledgeable when it comes to hair care. We have a scientist behind. We have done a lot of research. So it's essentially increasing the brand lift. So it's like trying to lift up our brand to let them know that, hey, we're here. Israel Firestone says like normally 8 touch point. I'm sure it's not from Israel, but therefore it's like I just recognize his name again. So he said like there's 8 touch point. So that is going to be a touch point. Imagine like when you run ad, when they see your video, that is going to be your first touch point. And then in the email, then that's your second touch point. In each of the touch point, you have either emotionally write an article to emotionally to let them emotionally invest into you, or maybe just an ad to let them know there's such product exists in the market. Or as a quiz funnel, you could ask maybe 7 to 10 questions. So that is not just like 1 or 2 touch point, because they really think about you in their mind, and that would increase the touch point into maybe 6 to 7 already immediately. And that's why quiz funnel is very important to integrate into e-commerce business.
So in our example here, we're talking about the hair care product. You said it's best to start with the goal of the quiz funnel. What is the goal in this example that we're just hypothesizing through?
Yeah. So the goal there for the hair care brand that we were helping, they were actually wanting to get on board as much customer as possible and position themselves as like a healthier option amongst the competitors, right? So the competitors in China, there's not much. There's not much competitors in China. Most of them is coming from the foreign country, like maybe Head and Shoulders, like, and then they would just come to China, and then they would just advertise themselves, and then they would just start using them. But then like the Chinese product we help is like we include like herbal medicine inside, and therefore like it's a bit healthier, tailored to Eastern country, and therefore that's the objective that we want them to know, right? So that's the objective. So the question that so once we know the objective, then we started build questions, priming the user, right? For example, we want to ask them what hair type do they have? Because when you start with asking the hair type, it means that like it seems like you are very knowledgeable when it comes to hair type. When you list out, oh, you have like a hair type that is thin, that is fake, or that is like smooth, or maybe that is like very dry, right? Immediately they will know, oh, this guy sounds like a doctor to me. He's like trying to diagnose like what's going on, right? But of course, before we ask those, we want to give them an easy kind of like question to get them going first. For example, how often do you use conditioner per week? The reason why we need an easy question first, because you don't want to let them feel like they are putting a lot of work to try to answer 7 questions. And therefore, you want to make them feel like, oh, look at that. Your first question is that easy. So your 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 question, it should be that kind of easy as well, right? So that is the first kind of like question we ask. Second question we ask is about trying to position ourselves as an expert by asking your hair type, right? And then the third question, we want to ask about like your scalp moisture. You want to assess like how much scalp do you have in your hair, and we want to address it, the dandruff and the oiliness of your hair. I mean, this is like a second position to prime the user, to let them know, hey, we study a lot of hairstyle, and we know how the hair perform, and therefore we know how should we mix our formula. And we have different style of shampoo that is tailored to you, right? By answering those questions, people may think that we are actually tailored to their need, right? Although the answer might be the same shampoo or conditioners, right?
Yep.
But then it's essentially trying to help them personalize the experience, to let them know, to highlight the brand attentions to the holistic hair health, right? And then to build trust as well that we are a authentic doctor, right? So after that, we will ask them the goal, right? To become like super personalized, we want to say, what's your goal to use a shampoo or conditioner? By asking them, you are letting them to speak their mind rather than just you ask question, right? On the first free question, you already get into the mind already that would position ourselves as an expert. And now you are trying to get them to express themselves, feels like they are being heard. And empower them to involve directly with like a product creation. Like feels like after we asked you about, do you have oiliness, do you have a dandruff, and then do you have this up hair, right? And then in the process, when it comes to the outcome, it feels like, oh, I've never had someone else have that much of in-depth conversation with me, even though I'm in a shop, in Boost, Tesco, like Costco, like they are just like a product on the shelf, but there's no one really diagnosed like what's the problem, right? So by asking the fourth question or fifth question, they already think that, oh well, I feel like this is the brand that I need to, because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I like, because when you started off saying, well, one of our goals in this hypothetical situation is to build our expertise. And I was like, how are you going to do that? And I was thinking you're going to be talking to them. But what I love in your answer is the exact opposite. It's the questions you ask and the fact that you're listening to them is how you're establishing your expertise, because you know the questions to ask them, right? I now have light bulbs going off. I now understand what you mean when you said one of our goals is to establish our expertise in the space. And then the other goal is to, improve conversion. So I assume at the end of your funnel, you're giving them a personalized recommendation of a hair care regime or a specific product that, based on their answers, is the best one for them from your options, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, how do you measure, you said a 50% lift in conversion as one example. What metrics are you looking at in your quiz funnels as you're measuring performance?
So in different funnel, like we do different things. Like, so on the Facebook ad, right? Of course, we're looking for so if they come from Facebook ad, when the landing page, but I start from the start of funnel to end of funnel. So typically, like it's going to be the conversion rate. If people are interested in your headline to complete the quiz, so that's a click-through rate. You need the quiz first, right? Apparently, like some of the quiz, like sometimes it could be clickbait, right? But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, right? Because people wants to talk about themselves, right? Want to find out want to find out what type of shampoo you want to use. Do you want to have a tailored shampoo personalized experience for picking up your shampoo, right? So the headline for shampoo, luckily we are not using clickbait text, but we have worked with customer that, like, when it comes to lost weight, some of the text headlines could be very clickbaity. Otherwise, that it won't increase the click-through rate, right? So we typically do A/B testing on that first step on the headline. So when it comes to questions, we use completion rate, right? We see whether or not they come to this step or that step. Sometimes, like early on, you mentioned, yes, it's about personalization, but in the end of the quiz, sometimes we'll insert like a information field to try to give us the information. Maybe we want to know as in like, oh, what's your age, right? So we use a different way to ask them, as in like, how long have you been working in this like segmentation? So you can sort of guess like how old are they, or maybe like what kind of disease do they have, right? So we want to know like we will use another way to ask in direct question to avoid them feeling give us too much information, right? And then once we talk about the information part, we want to attack the competitors by saying that why us, right? Why us? Do you know the traditional? That is the question, right? But then the question is like just yes or no. Do you know traditional competitors? They have too much cream in the shampoo, and that causes a allergy to most of the people, right? And then just ask them yes and no. Then even though they say yes or no, it doesn't really matter, right? But then during the quiz creation, we want to measure about how do they perceive the question, right? Whether or not they feel like they're starting to waste their time, or they're thinking that we are trying to bullshit them, right? And then we want to change up the question. And that's why the conversion rate on each of the question is important, and the finish rate is the last metrics that we use when it comes to just a quiz itself, right? The completion rate. And then of course, like the most important metrics is of course the purchase. Were they gonna buy the product because of your quiz, right? How do we make the conversion rate went from improved 50%, right? From maybe 4% to 6%, right? So that is actually very important, a conversion metrics that we use for each of the funnel. And so you optimize each of the things, right? Before the headline, there's ad as well. What kind of ad will prompt people want to go to the quiz, right? Would they, when it comes to the ad, would that be a interruptive marketing kind of like ad copy to get them into the quiz, to complete the quiz? Or would that be an informational ad on Facebook to make them feel like, they want to get more information, and that's why they will complete the diagnose questions from the quiz, right? So each of the step, we do different kind of like optimization for the conversion.
That's a lot of. I didn't realize you were actually measuring each question's conversion. Do they go from step 2 to 3 to 4? That's a lot of work there, but I'm sure it pays off in the end. How much changing of your quiz do you do once you start launching it and testing it? Is there a lot of iteration from that data to get to the perfect optimized quiz?
Yes, I would say we do A/B testing. Even though we finished the whole quiz, we still do A/B testing. But then, changing the order, changing the text, changing the images on the question is really important for us to like a CLO, right?
Yep.
And I would say by the end of let's say a month, no, actually, I'm not too short. By the end of 3 months, we might already have like 5 to 8 different kind of like questions ready.
Yep.
That version ready that we have created, and we might have a different vertical as well, right? But once we have to get that much information, then we will realize, seems like there's 2 types of people that would love our product, right? We have some of the elderly or youngster, right? So we just create 2 different verticals to ask different questions as well.
Yep, that makes sense. So in Shopify ecosystem, which is what our podcast is focused on, are there preferred? I'm sure there's multiple quiz apps. Is there a preferred one you have, or are there different things people should be thinking about when making that app decision for themselves?
So Typeform is the one that we use, right? Because Typeform could include the logical rule as well inside, so we can direct them into different places. We place a tracker on each of the question to see whether or not if they complete that. So Typeform is the hyper personalized kind of like easy that we can use API to automate things. We used to use buckets, right? Buckets is actually one of the software that we use, but then we realize there's so much restriction sometimes, and so we leave that and we just go for Typeform, because Typeform we can negotiate, and then we can sort different things out and send different offer with different API and API and automation as well.
Does Typeform have a native Shopify app?
No, they don't. It's an embedded function.
Yep, makes sense. So if we use Typeform, we install and we embed it into our page, how are you getting people to the quiz? Is it engaging people on your site already, or is it using the quiz to, have a call to action on social or on an ad? How do you get people into your quiz funnel?
It really depends on the product itself. For example, Head and Shoulders, right? As in like the hair care product. If I'm using Head and Shoulders, I think Head and Shoulders targeted the elder graphics, right? And then they're gonna be likely to visit like Washington Post or maybe BBC. In that case, we use native ad. So we go for native ad or Microsoft Bing to get them into our funnel, right? But if your product is more of like mid-range, people who started to having a hair loss, right? We sometimes advertise on Google. We realize ecom product, quiz funnel, doing a Facebook ad, they have limited attention span. Like they come from Facebook because the nature of Facebook is all about like interactive marketing. If you come from Facebook and then you come them and then you ask them to answer around 10 questions, the attention span, I mean, you can really know how do they decrease and deteriorate. They won't be able to complete the whole thing, and therefore you won't be able to sell them afterward. So we shut them down to maybe 5 to 6 questions only max when it comes to Facebook. But when it comes to Google, because they are high intent buyer, they know what they want, they know that they need to answer it, right? And that's why they will complete the quiz. Whereas a native ad buyer, sometimes they are clickbait, sometimes they are bored. It sometimes really mess up the measurement from our experience. But then when it comes to the native ad, they are kind of like this. They're the same as Google, but they're not as good as Google when it comes to quiz funnel. But then, surprisingly, is when it comes to email. In email, if you bring them from email to the website, the conversion rate is almost 80%. Like they are, I mean, when it comes to completion rate. So they are really interested. If they are your royal follower, they would really want to know what's the quiz about, and therefore they will become your repurchase. They'll buy again from you, or they will start the journey with you if they are new to the brand.
So there's a lot of good information. And the first one that I love was the fact that Facebook or display ads, those are less qualified users and they have short attention spans. So it's really not as effective. But the keyword ads on Bing and Google, they've already expressed intent in this topic. So they're more engaged and a much better conversion. I'm surprised by that. The second you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that does make sense. I just didn't think of that intuitively, that Facebook wouldn't be the best source of traffic. And then, of course, your existing customer base with email, that totally makes sense also. Are there any like tips or tricks to engage when you should engage customers on your own website, as opposed to bringing them to your website through the ads? Wait till they get confused, or do we do it front and center when they show up on the site?
So we would normally have a 10 to 15 second delay. So how do we calculate that 10 to 15 second delay? We use your retention metrics in your GA4, and then we normally use that on average, and then divide by 0.3, and that will be the golden metrics for us. Because, like, say, if normal average visiting time is around 1 minute, then you want to show it to them at around 10 seconds, because you want to impress them with about your website branding. Build the first touch point. Then if they have not decided still browsing, then you hit them with the personalized quiz, right? And then if they click close, then before the exit intent, you pop up that quiz again to let them know, hey, why not take a quiz first? Then you will know what's going on. So that will be the free kind of like intent that will inject into your website.
So you're doing that. So I use Klaviyo for most of my Shopify stores. So I could easily in Klaviyo have a pop-up form that's triggered after X number of seconds, or an exit intent, or both, right, kind of thing. And instead of saying collect email, I could say, hey, do you want to get personalized advice or information from us? Take our quiz, and then take them to that Typeform landing page that I have to get them through the quiz. Is that how you would do it?
That's right. Yeah. So it's all about any data collection. Sometimes you don't collect the data at the end, right? So when they're not logged in, then you might want to have a shorter question. You don't want to have a too long question. And then you want to get in between the question. You want to ask them the email. Maybe that's the easiest way for them to digest, rather than give you the email at the end, right? So that is going to be another trick as well.
That's surprising to me that you move the email collection forward. Once again, the second you say it, it makes sense why you do that. It's just I wouldn't have thought of that originally. Is there a way that you message, give us your email, so that they're more likely to give us their email?
Yeah, we don't just ask them for the email. Of course, we always bracket, we don't spam you. But then the reason, like the way that we message them email, as in like, for example, like the hair care product, we'll say, do you want to get a report from our white paper on how people do this? Pick, I mean, the hair type, like according to your how do you call it in English? Like your races, right? Your race, right? Your race, like do they have a dry hair more or this hair more?
Yep.
And what
Yep.
age number you suffer hair losses, right? So that would be one way. Another way would be like give us an email so we can let you know the result and just for research purpose, right? And then of course you at the end you just ask them. You don't put the marketing email ticking box on that question. You do it at the end. So they don't give you email and tick, but then they give you email in the middle, but then they tick at the end, right? So you're using more of like a bait to get them to come to you as like a doctor, right? Would you give your number to your doctor? You will. So the quiz will act as the bridge to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and just a note for our audience here, right? So you're in UK, so you're having your customers tick the box. Here in the United States, we let them untick the box, right? We have it checked by default and let them opt out if they want to, just because your laws are a little stricter over there than ours are over here.
As a Shopify store owner, you understand how useful cross-sells are to your business. They're a great way to increase average order value, and they're also really powerful for your customers. For example, here, the customer with a chocolate puffin may also want to buy the puffin gift card. Or a customer buying a meal plan may also want to buy a snack plan. Or a customer buying a home bar may want to get an important accessory for that bar. And nothing goes more natural with a duvet cover than the duvet insert. Now, traditionally for cross-sells, what a lot of stores are doing is that they cross-sell in the cart. Like here, or they'll even do a bundle app on the product page. Like here. Now, there's nothing wrong with these cross-sells, and they can be useful for your business. But with linear shopping experiences, we have a more powerful way to do cross-sells. This is especially useful in the case where there's more than one option. So here, trying to bundle this puffin with one gift card could be easy in a bundle app here on the product page. But let's say there's more than one type of gift card for the customer to choose from. This is where linear shopping experiences comes in. You click on the Add to Cart button, that product is added to the cart, and then we ask the customer right then, "Hey, do you want to add a gift card to your puffin gift?" "Yes, please." And then they're taken to see all the different gift card options. Maybe they want a moose or a lobster or one of the different puffins. They get to choose whichever one of the products they want. They get asked after adding the meal plan, do they want to add snacks to their order? And then they see a whole bunch of different snack options to choose from. Now on the bar example, there's only one accessory for the bar. We say, "Hey, do you want to look at the cutting board insert accessory?" If they say yes, we can take them straight to that product page. And for the duvet cover, there is actually more than one duvet insert available in the store. They get to see all the different duvet insert options that they have. So Linear Shopping Experience is an app that's going to naturally place in a very intuitive, logical format for your customers. Cross-sells into your store, and for every given product, you can do a unique cross-sell so that cross-sells can point to a collection, a product page, or even just a page, like a landing page that you've designed for that cross-sell experience. Add Linear Shopping Experience to your store now and get the benefits of these natural and intuitive cross-sales for your business.
So, are there times, times or brands? Are there brands or times that should use quizzes, and are there times and brands where they shouldn't use, or is it one of those? It works, from bicycles to hair care and everything in between, or have you had experiences where quizzes just don't work for this situation or this brand?
I think quizzes would always works, but then the problem is you have to test a lot of time, right? At least 3 months. You have to driving consistent traffics, and then test the right question, right? For dogs, you ask like, if you're selling like a reusable bag, you can either go for the ethical side, a biodegradable side, or like whether or not if you want your dog have a happy smell or something like that, right? I think every kind of business, they can create a quiz tailored to their customer experience. But then it's the testing side that is the hassle, because the testing side require you to send constituent data to come up a statistics to make it statistical significance, right? And I would say if this is too technical, if you are selling something like tools, like for like for trades, right? So for trades workers, I would say they know what they are good at already. They know their craft already. So like 3D printer, I don't think a quiz funnel is going to be a good idea for DIY. I think a quiz funnel is good for more of like as in like DIY. It's not like they don't have the high intent, but then the normal one, like the normal e-commerce store, like chocolate, or maybe once you have the multiple variety, or once you have more of like a bundling kind of a choice that is hard to let people know or travel as well, like about whether or not your product can use in different places. Like can you speak if you the travel brand is like Cross, STRSS is quite famous brand. They have this like quiz that is telling you where are you traveling to, and therefore you should use which plug type, right?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore throughout that you gain information, and therefore you want to buy from them, right? So it's more of like if you have variety, I would say, in your business, if you have different bundle color or function, then that's for you. But if you're just selling a hammer, right? I don't think you have too much variety in the hammer. If you're selling like a chainsaw, right, I don't think you have too much variety in the chainsaw. And so I wouldn't say that would be a very good idea for quiz funnel.
Yeah, it's funny because this morning what I'm working on for a client is I'm putting together, we're rolling out subscriptions in their store, and we don't want to do subscriptions under $70 because we want to give a deep discount on it kind of thing. So we want the price point to be higher. So I'm making bundles today, 3 different bundles of their products, and they sell snacks, right? And I could see a quiz, which is like, hey, buy one of our subscription boxes, take our quiz to see which one is right for you. Like, to me, that's probably a pretty good scenario where we should ask them 3 questions, do you like this, that, or the other thing in your snacks? And from that, we tell them, oh, this subscription box is the right one for you.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, most of the extreme niche thing, and if it require like complex sales, I don't know if you know about Rainbow. Rainbow is like more of like, it's one of the, what's the Rainbow vacuum hoover? So, Henry is like one of the UK very famous vacuum mover, right? But in Rainbow, they do air purifier, they do vacuum cleaning, carpet cleaning. I think this is too complex because if you have to explain to your customer using a quiz funnel, it will probably take up to like 20 pages, right? That's too hard to allow people to interact with your quiz and understand what are you selling and to build authority as well, right? So not those kind of product as well, and maybe it's not some regulatory kind of like constraint kind of product. Maybe in the healthcare sector, so I would say healthcare sector. I guess like you really have to go visit the doctors, right? So the kind of like diagnose that we're doing,
yep.
We're not really the doctor here, so we couldn't do that, I think.
Yeah, I'm working on 5 different supplement websites right now, and we are totally constrained by that. We can't give advice in our marketing and merchandising on the site, which is a fun challenge to work within. So when I'm building out these quizzes, I'm thinking about a list of best practices, and you've given a couple. Like one is, not too many questions, but not too few. So like, what's the range? It sounds like 3 to 7 questions is the right range from what you've said so far. Would that be accurate?
It really depends because sometimes some of the question, like remember, we need to build in the question, we want to build authority, collect information, and then attack the competitors. Right? So do we have enough question to increase the perceived value of the brand? Right? Do we have enough question to allow the audience engage by thinking, by really putting the effort to increase the the brand touch point, right? So longer quiz will be like seven. A shorter quiz will be I would recommend 5 to 7. But if you need a more function that getting more information or to pre-qualify a lead, whether or not if they can spend on the supplement that you're doing, that would be maybe a bit more. I would say not more than 15. That would be a suitable kind of numbers.
And as you're building out that questions and coming out with the outcomes, how many outcomes would be a large set of outcomes? Like, let's just, use your hair care. Let's say there's like, is 27 different outcomes, the normal? Is that too many? How do we keep the scope controllable on both sides for the customer and for the store staff?
Sorry, when you mean outcome, do you mean the product itself when it comes to logical? So because when it comes to the quiz, what we'll do is like if they answer A or B, then we will score them 3, and then if they answer C, we'll score them 4 maybe. Then we add up the score, and then we give them different product according to the recommendation of the score. Is that kind of outcome that you mentioned?
Yeah, that's the outcomes that I mean. Like, your different options that you're going to present to customers in the end.
So I would say there is no limit. I mean,
okay,
as long as it's reasonable, then that's fine.
Because I have clients, they have, literally 50,000 products in their catalog. And just in towels, for example, they probably have, 1,200, if not 5,000 different towels. But we could, you could create a quiz that could take them and consider that whole set of towels.
Right. I guess like we can do the filtering then. We can do the filtering in the quiz, saying that what kind of like towel you like. Do you like a fluffy? Do you like a quick dry, right? And then you shorten that 5,000 to 10K, and then like you ask the second question to shorten down into just like 500 and then 100, etc. That would be my recommendation.
Yep. Now, getting a little bit technical between the Typeform integration on a Shopify store, you'd mentioned that we're building a score based on their answers. How does that score get translated to a recommendation that we take them to in the Shopify experience?
We use a conditional logic. So within the Typeform, there's conditional logic that we can just rank them and then just connect them into the page that they have. The reason why we're using Integromate that we're using right now, it's not called Integrate. What do they call now? I can't remember. Okay, so let's say Zapier. The reason why we're using Zapier because we are trying to get the result from each of the answer. If they exit the form, then we can still be able to get the answer. So we will see what step they exit the form, and then we'll collect all the questions, and then we can sort out the whole thing in the future, and then we can have a detailed, maybe pivot table to find out where they're from, and then those areas suited to this kind of hair type, what kind of age, that they normally have this kind of skin tone, and therefore we use those kind of product, information to develop another product.
Yeah, you've got a lot of complexity going on there. If you're exporting data manually, you got Zapier in every step along the way, pivot tables and all that kind of stuff. Not that that's the wrong way to do it. It's just, and as you said earlier, right, this is a 3-month project at least to get it done right. What sort of volume or spend are brands putting behind a quiz effort to get the right return for all the investment in money and time and energy to set all these up?
First, we don't work with brand that is lower than 100K. So if they because it all falls down to statistical significance, right? If a brand doesn't create volumes, it means that our work is not going to be proven to be successful. As in, like we cannot help you optimize. We will just create one quiz and that's it, right? Because you can't even optimize. The data is not there, right? And therefore, I wouldn't say like how much budget that we require brands to put in, but I would say use the existing budget and allocate around 20% of budget to the quiz funnel. And that would be our recommendation.
And for your statistical significance, is it 400 users per month through the quiz? Is there a number you have about the volume that you really need to get good data?
It depends. Like if you think about Facebook, when you run ad, they need 30 conversion in order to exit the landing phrase, right? So normally, like we only require around 100 quiz for each target segment, right? For each target segment. So if that target segment is too big, it depends on what kind of test that we're running. If we are running a test that is like more on the, say in the UK, Birmingham, right? If there's like London and Glasgow, obviously the weather is different, the humidity is different, and therefore like we wouldn't classify that result to be successful. So we want to target people that is just in Birmingham, and we want to get at least 100 a response to say that the result is statistically significant.
So that's at the bottom of your quiz funnel, 100, and then you can work the math up on how many people have to start and then how many people have to drive from however you're driving traffic to it. Okay. It's still a lot of traffic, and which makes sense because you're doing a lot of effort. There's a lot of work in this to optimize them, it sounds like, to get them to be really effective. Are there any other best practices about quizzes that we haven't talked about that you want to cover?
So what we found that is like using picture, and also you summarize sometimes like some of the answers is not like a one sentence answer. Sometimes the answer is like maybe 2 sentences, right? We want to focus on just 1 sentence, firstly. Secondly, at the front, we want to extract the most important point about the question. For example, the answers. I mean, for example, when it comes to how often do you wash your hair, right? So you have like answer 1 for them to pick is, I never wash your hair 3 times a week, and I normally use my 10 fingers to rub my hair, right? So it's too long, obviously, right? So you would say at the front, you would say you extract them into 5 times a week with heavy rubbing, right? So that would be the front. So people can decide whether or not to read the whole thing, or should they just pick up the easier version, which is just the front extracted text with maybe bold or italic kind of like style on the word itself, right? So using color as well is important, because color will increase your brand uplift with your brand Bible. At last, if you don't have a designer, do not use images, because that images would really decrease your brand reputation, right? While you are trying to build a authenticity about yourself, but you have a bad images, you may as well not use it.
I cannot agree with you more about the bad images, and that's across the whole store. I'm starting to see a lot of backlash from my clients' customers on AI images and not good stock and stuff like that. The quality bar for images is going up over time, and that is for sure, because it's so easy to come up with so many AI images that people are getting a little sick and tired of them if they're not as relevant or accurate to what's being portrayed. Any other best practices? It's been good so far.
I think that's it. I will make sure that you install Microsoft Clarity. I think Microsoft Clarity is a very good tool. Like it replaced Hotjar back in the days, but right now you are seeing how people interact with your customer. Even though like it's not about quiz funnel, but put the GA and Pixel in your Typeform as well, and you were surprised how much data that you are able to get from there.
Yeah. For those who don't know that are listening, Microsoft Clarity, you'd mentioned Hotjar there. Microsoft Clarity is just like Hotjar. A lot of people have heard of Hotjar in the Shopify ecosystem. The Microsoft Clarity one is actually a free service at all levels, which is kind of nice about them. It's a little bit more work to implement because they don't have an app inside of Shopify, but it's not that hard to implement, and it's really valuable information. Well, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. If people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Come to Omirank, omirank.com, OMIRANK, or just check me on LinkedIn.
Sounds good. I'll put links to both of those in the show notes for people that want to reach out to you. I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Shopify Solutions Podcast with Scott Austin. This podcast is brought to you by Jade Puma, a Shopify-focused agency located in San Diego, California. If you like what you heard, please leave a review and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to work with Scott on your brand, email him at scott@jadepuma.com.